maybe Orlando could win a series. I would say if you bet $100 on the Magic at 80-1 to win the East, you would lose $100. Just my opinion. But maybe Orlando could win a first-round series, right? But the fact that Milwaukee has been playing so poorly here, and I've loved the Bucks all season. I've wanted to bet the Bucks to win the Eastern Conference all season, salivating over betting Giannis and Lillard in like a huge game against Jason Tatum and the Celtics. The way they're playing now, I don't know like how you can believe in this team. And now Embiid's back, and the Sixers look pretty good. And maybe like they'll face off in the 2-7. We'll see how things like break over the final 4 games of the season here. So handicapping the Eastern Conference as a whole, is it as easy as it's just Boston and that's it? Do you want to make the case that the Bucks could make a run? Is it Embiid and the Sixers? No Julius Randle for the Knicks, but Anunoby back. Give us like a minute here, 60 to 90 seconds on the Eastern Conference, because we want to save some time for Masters and NFL.
Yeah, I think if you're having a sincere conversation about who the second choice should be right now between the Bucks and the Sixers, you're not alone. I think a lot of people are struggling with that question, and the fact that the Bucks are kind of entrenched at 3-1 is insane to me. The team's fatally flawed, particularly when it comes to, the point of attack defense. That was the deal they made with the Devil when they brought in Dame Lillard and sent Drew Holiday back out to Portland, ultimately to come back in division, come back in conference and be sort of the kind of quintessential key final piece of the puzzle for the Celtics. So, the Bucks are drawing dead against the Celtics. If I'm pricing that matchup, I'm probably looking at Celtics in the minus 400 range. And honestly, like the key of adding in Lillard, what did you get? Like you got a little bit more flexibility offensively in crunch time. Maybe you've solved your problems of offense stagnating late in games, but like that only really matters if you're late in games, late in series. And I can't see that realistically happening against the Celtics. So I think the Bucks are in deep trouble. I would make a very compelling case to bet the Sixers if that's the 2-7 and you're getting a price in the ballpark of, say, the market's implying you might get something like 2-1 on the Sixers in that particular head-to-head series-wise. I would give very sincere consideration to the Sixers. Although I will tell you, watching Embiid, goodness gracious, he's out of shape. It was a very, very questionable hang in his first game back. I know they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, but a lot of him standing on the defensive side of the court, a lot of issues when it came to just his fitness. So don't know if you'll get full strength Embiid for the playoffs, but it's a long playoffs, so we'll see. I would say that the second best team the conversation about the East, can the Celtics win the East by losing? What's their total number of losses for them in the playoffs? I would set it kind of in like the 4.5 range. I think they're probably sweeping their initial opponents, even if it is the Heat. I think your gentleman sweeping the Knicks in round 2. And then whoever ultimately comes from the other side of the draw, I think the Celtics get through 4-1, 4-2, and are cleanly into the NBA Finals.
There's no reason why the Magic can't actually be the 2 seed, which is crazy. And to be clear, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's possible that it does. And maybe they get a hobbled Knicks team in the first round. Maybe, like Drew was saying, maybe it's Indiana in the first round. So we'll see how this goes with Orlando here. Do you really think Orlando can actually make noise in the Eastern Conference playoffs coming up here, which start in 11 days?
Yeah, I do. And there is one drawback. There is one drawback, which is this is an inexperienced team. This is a team that doesn't have a lot of playoff expertise, a lot of playoff experience. And we have seen in years gone by, really across all professional sports, the teams that don't have a lot of playoff experience can find themselves in trouble. I cite the Baltimore Orioles last year, a team that very similar to the Orlando Magic was composed of young players, was composed of guys who didn't have experience. They made a hot run down the stretch. And then when it came playoff time, even with home field advantage at Camden, they fell apart. That is my big concern for the Orlando Magic. But I think you'd have a difficult time, even though, yes, there's a loss to Charlotte. There's a loss to a Golden State, who's fighting to be the 10 team in the West. There's a couple of losses in the last month that concern me. I think that's really kind of true of everybody. They've got Houston tonight. They've got 2 games, as you mentioned, against Milwaukee. By the way, 2-0 against Milwaukee, I think all but assures you of the 2 seed at this point. And yes, I will bet any team, or I should say I will bet against any team that decided Doc Damn Rivers is the right call when the pressure is on them like it is Milwaukee right now. And I don't know what there is to dislike, like Drew said, with the exception of the guard play. Now, you do need good guard play in the playoffs, but what I do love about this team is that they're freaking stubborn and they're hard-headed, dude. Like, they believe in them if nobody else does. And I think when you get into the NBA playoffs, when you're looking at having to win series, that can be a factor. I like this team a lot. I think getting the 2 seed would be massively important. I think getting a bottom tier, hopefully wild card team in the first round coming to your house would be big. But I mean, if you look right now at the teams in that wild card spot, yeah, the 76ers have Joel Embiid back and they look a lot better. But as Drew pointed out, he looks out of shape. It's going to take a couple more games.
You would take the Magic? Would you take the Magic to beat the Sixers in a series?
Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
Because the Sixers have the better coach and have the best player in the series.
I don't disagree. You have a Joel Embiid back. And look, this is much like we've talked about with the NFL draft winners. There's a lot between where we are and where we have to hit the submit button on that bet. But does Joel Embiid look like Joel Embiid MVP candidate right now? Hey, looks fine. Let me ask you this.
How about this? Would you take them again? What if they had to play Miami in the first round? Let's say Orlando gets the 2 and they have to play Miami in the first round. Who are you taking?
Miami's interesting because that's that team under Eric Spoelstra that always does some weird crap in the playoffs that kind of catches you by surprise. But does this Miami team have the same vibe as some of the Eastern Conference final teams that Espos put together? They don't, to me. Like, they're fine, but they don't have that same vibe that they have. I would take the Magics over the Heat right now. I'd take the Magic over Chicago right now, who is a play-in team at this point. Yeah, I'd certainly take them over Atlanta, even if Trae Young comes back. Dude, I might take them over Indiana right now at this point, as high as a team that's fighting for the 6th seed. So I'm not, it's far, let's be clear, Nick. It is far from a guarantee, my guy. Like, it's far because it is a young, inexperienced team, but it's a team that's sitting at 46-32. It's a team that is, I'm willing to bet this is going to be the 2 seed because they're going 2-0 against Milwaukee down the stretch.
And we'll say Milwaukee has a huge game tonight, obviously, against the Celtics. They're favored in that game at home, have to get off the schneid, but also they've lost 4 straight, mostly to bad competition, did lose to the Knicks. Maybe you'll disagree with this one. So we still haven't really had one where we've really disagreed. If you had to play the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, over or under 9.5, what would you do? And then I'll tell you, like, my position here on the Jets.
I like it. Dude, this one's a 50-50. Honestly, I might shade the under. I mean, are we going to sit here and pretend that Aaron Rodgers is going to come replicate what he was doing at Green Bay now that he's another year older, has not played football by the time we kick off in 2 damn years, and has a busted up Achilles? We're going to say he's the same guy?
I don't know if he's like the same guy, but he can be like 75% of what he was when he was winning MVPs a couple times recently in Green Bay, and this team's gonna, they're awesome. The roster for the Jets, and obviously, look, it's not just Rodgers. It's a lot of players that have to stay healthy, right? So Tyron Smith's going to play left tackle now. Tyron Smith has got to stay healthy, like to keep Aaron Rodgers upright. They signed Mike Williams to be the complimentary number 2 receiver opposite Garrett Wilson. Like, if Mike Williams is healthy, that's a banger of a signing by the Jets. Mike Williams is going to be awesome, but Mike Williams is coming off an injury, and Mike Williams can't stay healthy. So look, this is a roll of the dice that you need a couple of the principals here on this roster to stay healthy. If they do, I think they win the division. Plus 240 right now, and this is less. I don't mean to make this like, so when we talked about the Commanders earlier, and I said, like, I think the Commanders can win the NFC East, that is like an anti-Eagles and anti-Cowboy stance by me when I say that for the Commanders. I don't like the Giants, but the Commanders, the Eagles and the Cowboys are both projected to do well. Me liking the Jets does not mean I dislike Buffalo or Miami. I think both Buffalo and Miami can win double-digit games next year for sure. Just that I get the Jets at plus 240, Bills plus 160, Dolphins plus 170. They rebuilt the offensive line, 3 new starters, 10th overall pick in the draft. Defense is awesome. Now, I think the coach is a buffoon, and the offensive coordinator is a clown, Robert Saleh and Nate Hackett. But, I mean, look, like, Rodgers stays healthy with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams. Maybe Brock Bowers with the 10th overall pick. That defense. Tell me this team's not going to win 10 games. It's a bet I'm willing to make, and I'm willing to be wrong if the guys can't stay healthy. But if they do, I think Jets could win like 14 games this year.
Did you just say 14?
If everyone's healthy, like there's no reason why like they can't be the 1 seed in the AFC.
Well, we found our first disagreement. We did it, Nick. We made it all the way to 5:15 in the afternoon. I like it. It took us a while, but we got this. Listen, I don't think you're wrong in saying the Jets are going to be a better football team, but I don't think anybody as a head coach has changed my opinion about them as quickly as Robert Saleh has done. He was a guy that when you hired him, I was actually really excited about it, and I've just lost interest. You took the worst NFL head coach in history in Nathaniel Hackett and made him your OC, and I don't even think it's one of those things where it's like bad head coach, good coordinator. I didn't even see that. And then you just gambled on a bunch of old dudes got to not pop Achilles again. I wish you the best of luck, brother. I'm taking the under.
Oh, Mike. Well, we will go mano-y-mano on the New York Jets win total.
So let me give you one guy that I love. I think it's a great number. He's had success this year. I took him twice. I took him once, long shot outside winner, but I took him as a guy to finish in the top 5 with pretty good numbers. That's Xander Schauffele. He's got a couple of wins. The last 3 Masters, he's finished no worse than 10th. He did have a runner-up in there. I grabbed him when the initial line dropped at 18-1. He's moved closer to 14, but I also got him at about 3-1 to have a top 5 finish. Tell me why I'm a big smart boy and I'm so right with the Xander Schauffele pick.
I love this. We didn't even talk about any guys ahead of time. So we can definitely back up. Confirmation bias for you is going to be strong here, Rob. Look, Xander he's an elite golfer. He's a top 20 machine. He actually finishes in like the top 5 at the same rate as a lot of other above average golfers finish inside the top 20. Now, he's played 36 times since he last won. Winning golf tournaments is very difficult. He's proven that. But like, look, when you continue to knock on the door, you continue to put yourself in position to win, eventually you kind of kick through that door. And he's finished inside the top 10 in 20 of his last 36 starts. That is insane. 13 of those have been top 5 or better. That is incredibly, that consistency is just unmatched in the golf. And that's just really hard to repeat week in and week out. Now, the biggest thing he's ever won, you can make the argument, is that he won the Olympic gold medal a handful of years ago. Like in terms of like actual tour events, he just kind of flirts to the top and hasn't got there. Now, I also got in on Xander at 18-1. 14's a little less appealing, but at the end of the day, like if you think the guy's going to win the golf tournaments, I think you kind of just have to be careful and make sure you don't have yourself sitting on the outside of a guy that you handicap to do pretty well. Now, here's some statistics. He's even better this year than he's been in years past. He's gaining about a half stroke more per round off the tee. He's added some distance off the tee, improved accuracy as well. Just continues to kind of be in there in terms of like guys who have played really well here. If you look at the last 5 years, strokes gained total at Augusta National, Xander Schauffele is top 3 in the field. So yeah, you can pay DraftKings, I think, has like plus 160 for a top 10, which includes ties, which is really important. Top 60 or top 10 in ties is a nice number. Yeah, and 18. I love him this week. I think he's definitely in the mix.